President Trump putting Iran on notice. Tomorrow is decision day for the nuclear deal, and he's also got some choice words for John Kerry. But first, the president has called the nuke deal terrible. One of his main campaign promises was to rip it up and incinerate it. Earlier this afternoon, the president tweeted, "I will be announcing my decision on the Iran deal tomorrow from the White House at 2 p.m. We will have bated breath. The president also warning former Secretary of State John Kerry to quit working behind the scenes to try to save Obama's legacy deal. Kerry, of course, was the architect of it, and he's reportedly been negotiating on his own with Iranian officials. Well, that's weird. As well as some of our European allies. They're our allies, not just yours, John. He's going rogue. The president tweeted this morning, the United States does not need John Kerry's possibly illegal shadow diplomacy on the very badly negotiated Iran deal. He was the one that created this mess in the first place. Earlier today on Outnumbered, we talked about former Secretary Kerry, and I compared him to one of America's most notorious rogue state sympathizers. Watch. You know what it makes him? It makes him the Jane Fonda of the Middle East. I'm not even kidding about that.
True.
I mean, there's something about that that is so unethical and underhanded. Yeah. And put politics aside, foreign policy and diplomacy are supposed to be separate from domestic politics. If that were in front of a live audience, the roar would have been deafening. Hanoi Jane meet Tehran John. So is the president pulling out of this deal? Joining me now, Florida Republican Congressman Matt Gaetz. Welcome back, Congressman Gaetz.
Good to be back with you, Kennedy.
So let's talk a little bit about this. Tomorrow is decision day. What do you feel the president will do?
I think the president has to get away from this bad deal that has not served the interests of Americans. Military officials have testified to the Armed Services Committee, where I serve, that Iran is actually engaged in more dangerous work around the world now than ever before. And so it certainly shows that the Iran deal was bad for the country, and certainly what John Kerry is doing is very dubious.
Yeah, he's an annoying know-it-all. I don't understand what he's doing, and I realize that it must be very disconcerting for former President Obama to see much of his legacy dismantled by such a coarse and unorthodox reality star. And it seems as though John Kerry is his henchman who's going out and trying to resuscitate the deal. I know how frustrated President Obama was when some of your colleagues in Congress spoke to Iranian officials about the deal.
Yeah, John Kerry is kind of like a bad cold sore that keeps coming back at the most inopportune times. He loses a presidential campaign, comes back and is Secretary of State and ultimately on the wrong side of every major foreign policy decision on earth. And now he's back right when we're about to put maximum pressure on Iran, like we put maximum pressure on North Korea, and he's off moonlighting as some sort of, independent diplomat. That's against the law. John Kerry already screwed this deal up one time. Yeah. We need him to get out of the way of President Trump so that we can actually have an America First policy in the Middle East, not a policy that bows to the dictators that are doing horrible things to destabilize the region.
Now, I understand that the presidents love recycling politicians from their own parties. Former President Clinton did it with Bill Richardson. President Trump is doing it with Rudy Giuliani now. But John Kerry has not been tapped on the shoulder to dance. And this is extremely odd. And he could actually put the deal in jeopardy because he's not working on behalf of the U.S. government. Now, I'm not one of those hysterical people that thinks we need to throw him in the hoosegow under the Logan Act, but certainly he needs some course correction. What would you say to former Secretary Kerry if he were sitting here right now?
I think that retirement would be a good option for Secretary Kerry.
Nantucket, yes.
And he needs to get out of the way of the foreign policy of this country that he no longer is involved in. Look, this isn't the first time that's happened, Kennedy. In January of this year, John Kerry went to the Palestinian Authority and encouraged Abbas to stand strong against the president and resist the president's attempts to ensure that we had a more stable Middle East with more cooperation between the PA and Israel. And so time and again, we see John Kerry popping up all over the world like some sort of treacherous Carmen Sandiego, disrupting the work of this president.
Yet not nearly as well dressed. How do you think President Obama would have taken it if Condoleezza Rice had just taken her trunk full of accessories and flown over to Afghanistan to hobnob with the Taliban while he was discussing resurging over there?
The Obama administration would have considered actions like this a human rights violation if you had former members of the Bush team sort of working to undermine our important policies. And look, this is a high-stakes endeavor, Kennedy. You've got Iran that has essentially had a yellow brick road paved for them to acquire a nuclear weapon. Our strongest ally in the region, Israel, is begging the United States to come to our senses. And I'm very confident that the president's going to be able to build a new structure that does a lot more to stop Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon.
I understand that, but I think that he's not going to pull out of the deal. I think he's going to call for a remodel and not, the sirens are here, I better hide the stuff. I don't think he's going to call to completely implode what exists right now, and he's going to put pressure to remodel on France and Germany, and we'll see what they can do. But I agree with you. He's saying, we're not going to build a nuke now, but we probably will in 20 years. That's not very heartening. Thank you so much, Congressman Gaetz, for your time. I appreciate it.